Imagine holding a coin worth more than a house, or even a mansion. These 10 Washington quarters could make you a millionaire overnight, but only if you know where to look. Stay tuned, because one of these could change your life forever. Welcome back to Numismatic Now. Did you know that one ordinary-looking quarter from 1965 could be worth thousands of dollars today? Yes, you heard that right, thousands. Most people walk right past this coin without a second thought, but coin collectors know better. The 1965 Washington quarter isn't just pocket change, it could be a hidden treasure. Where we uncover the stories behind America's most fascinating coins. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and valuable world of the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just found an old coin in your change jar, this video is for you. The 1965 Washington quarter holds a unique place in U.S. coinage history. It was minted right after one of the most significant changes in American coins, the removal of silver. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver. But starting in 1965, the U.S. Mint began producing them with a copper-nickel-clad composition due to the rising cost of silver. This makes the 1965 quarter the first year of the modern clad quarter series, a major turning point for U.S. currency. Here's something interesting: 1,965 quarters do not have any mint marks. That's because during this transitional period, the mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins to discourage collectors from hoarding them. So whether it was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it's impossible to know for sure just by looking at the coin. Over 1.8 billion of these quarters were struck, which means it's not considered rare in general circulation. But wait, there's more to the story. This is where things get exciting. A few rare 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets, the same silver blanks used for the previous year's quarters. These are known as 1965 silver era quarters. Because silver quarters weigh slightly more than clad ones, collectors use a precise scale to identify them. A regular 1965 clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, while a silver one weighs around 6.25 grams. Another rare error to watch for is the double die obverse, where the design appears slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. Although less common in 1965 quarters, some examples exist and are highly sought after by collectors. So, what is a 1965 Washington quarter worth today? If you have a standard, circulated 1965 clad quarter, it's usually worth face value, just 25 cents. But if you find one in mint state condition, especially graded MS 65 or higher, its value can jump to $10 to $50, depending on the coin's luster and detail. Now, here's the jackpot: if you happen to find a 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet, the value can soar to $3,000 to $7,000 or even more, depending on condition and market demand. One such coin sold at auction for over $12,000 because of its rarity and near-perfect condition. Want to check your 1965 quarters? Weigh the coin. If it's closer to 6.25 grams, you may have a silver planchet error. Look for sharp strike details, double dies, and mint luster for coins in mint state. Always check with a professional coin dealer or send it for grading if you suspect you found something special. So next time you get change back at the store, don't be too quick to spend it. That 1965 Washington quarter in your pocket could be worth a whole lot more than 25 cents. Is it just another coin from the 1960s, or is there something special about the 1966 Washington quarter dollar? You might have one sitting in your pocket change right now, and it could be worth far more than you think. Stick around, because today, we're diving deep into the history, rarity, and true value of the 1966 Washington quarter dollar. Minted in 1966, the Washington quarter dollar continues the legacy of the coin's design, which has been in circulation since 1932. The obverse of this coin features the famous bust of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. It's a striking tribute to America's first president, a symbol of strength and freedom. The reverse shows the eagle, another timeless symbol of the United States, along with the inscriptions E pluribus unum and quarter dollar. However, there's more to this coin than just its design. Now, let's talk about the specifics. The 1966 Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's an important detail: unlike many years, there's no mint mark for the Philadelphia variety. So, if you find a 1966 quarter with no mint mark, it's from the Philadelphia Mint. Meanwhile, the Denver Mint struck coins with a D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins marked with an S. The year 1966 was a significant one in U.S. history, as the country was in the middle of the 60s Cultural Revolution. But for coin collectors, it holds importance for a different reason. There were very few major errors in 1966 Washington quarters, which makes these coins an exciting find. While the 1966 coin is fairly standard in design, some collectors seek out those with subtle imperfections or variations in strike quality, which can increase their value. Even though the errors are rare, if you happen to stumble upon a 1966 quarter with any unusual characteristics like double die or misshapen minting, it could make your coin much more valuable. How rare is the 1966 Washington quarter? Well, let's break it down. In terms of mintage, over 1.5 billion of these quarters were produced across all three mints. While that sounds like a lot, it's important to remember that only a small percentage of those survived in great condition. The 1966 quarters that have been well preserved are in much higher demand among collectors. In good condition, a 1966 Washington quarter typically holds a value of about $5 to $10. But in higher grades, such as MS 65 or better, it can easily fetch $15 to $25 or more. And, if you find one with a rare error, the value could soar even higher. Now, how do you know if your 1966 Washington quarter is worth more than face value? First, examine the condition of the coin. Coins with minimal wear, crisp details, and a shiny appearance are the most valuable. Next, look for any minting errors. Things like double strikes, off-center strikes, or any unusual marks could drastically increase the value of your coin. So, before you spend your next quarter, check your pocket change. You might have a 1966 Washington quarter sitting there, and it could be worth more than you think. If you're new to coin collecting, or even if you're a seasoned pro, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more exciting coin discoveries. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss a video about the hidden treasures in your pocket change. Have you ever wondered if your pocket change holds hidden treasures? What if I told you that a coin from 1968, one that many overlook, could be worth more than face value? In this video, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1968 Washington quarter-dollar coin, a piece of American history that could just be the next big find for collectors and enthusiasts alike. Stay tuned. If you're new here, we explore rare and valuable coins, bringing you the stories behind them, the history they represent, and the potential they hold in today's market. Today, we're focusing on a coin that might be sitting in your pocket right now, the 1968 Washington quarter-dollar coin. Let's take a closer look at why this coin is so significant, what makes it stand out from the rest of the quarters, and whether it could be worth more than just 25 cents. First, let's talk about the 1968 Washington quarter. This coin was minted during a time of transition in U.S. coinage. The 1960s were a period of major change, not only in society but also in the way the U.S. government handled its currency. In 1965, the U.S. Treasury began using a copper-nickel-clad composition for most coins, including the quarter, replacing the previous 90% silver composition. This new formula was designed to reduce costs due to the rising price of silver. The 1968 Washington quarter is one of the first years to feature this new alloy, and it marked a significant shift in U.S. coinage. The coin features the profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, which has been a staple on the quarter since 1932. The 1968 quarter was produced at 3 U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your 1968 quarter doesn't have a mint mark, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. If it has a D mint mark, it was struck in Denver. And if it has an S mint mark, it came from San Francisco. But here's something important to note: the 1968 quarter didn't feature any special or commemorative designs, which means that its main appeal for collectors comes from its minting details and condition. Now, let's talk about some of the errors and unique features that could make the 1968 Washington quarter particularly valuable. While the 1968 quarter isn't known for a large number of notable errors like some other years, there are still a few things to keep an eye on. For instance, some 1968 quarters exhibit double die obverse errors. This occurs when the coin was struck more than once, resulting in slightly offset or doubled images, especially on the details of Washington's face. Coins with these errors are highly sought after by collectors because they are rare and can significantly increase the coin's value. The 1968 Washington quarter doesn't have the same level of error variety as coins from other years, but if you come across one with an unusual strike, it could be a hidden gem. So, what's the current market value of a 1968 Washington quarter? Well, the standard 1968 quarter, in average circulated condition, is worth exactly 25 cents. However, depending on its mint mark, condition, and any errors it might have, the value can vary. A 1968 Philadelphia quarter in good condition might be worth around $1 to $2. A 1968 Denver or San Francisco quarter in similar condition can fetch anywhere from $1 to $3. That if your coin is in uncirculated condition, it could be worth significantly more, anywhere from $4 to $10 or even higher for pristine examples. But here's the key takeaway: if you find a 1968 quarter with a double die error, you could be looking at a coin worth hundreds of dollars, depending on the error and its grade. So, the next time you're digging through your pocket change, remember the 1968 Washington quarter could be more valuable than you think. Even though it's not one of the most famous coins, the subtle details, errors, and condition could make all the difference for collectors. What if I told you that a coin from over 50 years ago could hold secrets, stories, and even some serious value? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic coins in American history, the 1971 Washington $quarter coin. But don't think this is just another old coin. This one might just surprise you. The 1971 Washington quarter is part of the ongoing series of quarters that have featured George Washington's image since 1932. The coin was minted at the Denver Mint, marked with the famous D mint mark. But what makes the 1971 quarter stand out from the crowd? Well, there are a few important things you need to know. First, let's take a step back in time. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday. This design has been so enduring that it continues to this day, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coin history. The mint mark D tells us this particular quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the key facilities where the U.S. Mint produces coins for circulation. While most quarters from this era are common, the 1971 D holds a certain level of interest due to its age, quality, and the potential for finding rare examples in the wild. The 1971 D Washington quarter is struck in a copper-nickel composition, weighing in at 5.67 grams and measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter. The obverse features a timeless profile of George Washington, while the reverse displays an eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, which is a design that's remained largely unchanged over decades. Now, while the 1971 D quarter isn't considered rare on its own, it's still a coin worth keeping an eye out for. Why? Well, collectors often search for coins in mint condition, specifically, those with no visible wear and tear. A 1971 D Washington quarter in high-grade condition, especially one that has been preserved over the years, can be much more valuable than its face value of 25 cents. But wait, there's more. The 1971 D quarter is also a coin to check closely for possible errors. While errors on this coin aren't as common as those found on other years, there have been reports of some double die varieties. These errors occur when the coin is struck multiple times in slightly different positions, leading to doubling of certain elements on the coin's design. Keep your eyes peeled for these anomalies. They could turn a regular 1971 D quarter into a hidden treasure. So, how can you tell if you found one of these valuable error coins? Look closely at the details around Washington's portrait and the lettering. If you spot any doubling or unusual features, you might just be looking at a rare variety. And that's exactly what collectors are hunting for. In terms of market value, the 1971 D Washington quarter is generally worth its face value if it's in average condition. However, a coin in gem uncirculated condition could fetch anywhere from a few dollars to over $10. And, as always, if you happen to find an error coin, its value could skyrocket depending on the rarity and demand. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, if you've got a pocket full of change or are sifting through your old coin collection, don't overlook that 1971 D Washington quarter. It may just be more valuable than you think. Have you ever held a coin in your hand that could be worth far more than its face value? What if I told you that a simple quarter from 1979, the kind you might have in your pocket right now, could be worth hundreds of dollars, or even more? Stay with me, because today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1979 D Washington $quarter coin. You won't believe how much this seemingly ordinary coin could be hiding in value. The 1979 D Washington quarter was minted in Denver, which is what the D mint mark stands for. You'll find this small letter, D, on the obverse side of the coin, that's the front, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail. Now, 1979 wasn't just any year. It was a turning point in American coinage. The U.S. Mint was increasing production to meet the growing demand for coins, and Denver struck over 489 million Washington quarters that year. That's right, nearly 500 million coins. So, what makes the 1979 D special if so many were made? The Washington quarter had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years by the time 1979 rolled around. Originally introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, this quarter became a staple in American currency. But the late 1970s were an interesting time. The economy was shifting, inflation was rising, and the U.S. Mint was preparing for changes, including the introduction of the Susan B. Anthony dollar that very year. Although the 1979 D quarter wasn't part of a special series or anniversary, it represents the last era of quarters before the designs began to evolve in the late 1990s with the state quarters program. That makes it a key piece for collectors who focus on pre-modern U.S. coinage. Now let's talk about the real treasures, the errors. This is where the 1979 D Washington quarter gets exciting. While most coins from this mintage are common, some rare errors have surfaced that make collectors' hearts race. One of the most sought-after varieties is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned in the press, resulting in a quarter that looks like it's been stamped off to one side. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value. Another error to look for is the double die obverse, where parts of the coin's design, especially the lettering or Washington's profile, appear doubled. Though less common for 1979 D quarters, these errors are valuable when discovered. Also, always be on the lookout for clipped planchets or die cracks, both of which can increase a coin's value depending on how noticeable the error is. Now you might be wondering, with so many minted, can this coin really be rare? Here's the answer: condition is everything. In circulated condition, the 1979 D quarter is generally worth face value, just 25 cents. But when you find one in uncirculated, mint state condition, especially MS 65 or higher, its value jumps significantly. As of today, a certified 1979 D quarter in MS 67 condition can fetch $200 to $400, and in some rare cases with exceptional quality, even more. And if you happen to discover one of those rare error varieties, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and rarity of the error. So next time you're sorting through your pocket change, remember, not all quarters are created equal. That 1979 D Washington quarter might just be your hidden treasure. Look closely for that mint mark, examine the condition, and don't forget to check for those valuable errors. If you're a collector, a coin enthusiast, or just someone who enjoys discovering hidden gems, this is the kind of coin story that reminds us why we love the hobby. There's history, mystery, and sometimes even a little money to be made, all in the palm of your hand. We're diving into the story of a coin that many people overlook, the 1981 P Washington quarter. At first glance, it might look like just another quarter, but some of these coins have surprising value. And if you know what to look for, you might just find one hiding in your change. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, originally introduced to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Fast forward to 1981, a year when over 600 million quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone. That's a huge number, which makes the 1981 P quarter seem common, until you start digging deeper. Now, let's talk about the P Mint mark. In 1981, the P stands for the Philadelphia Mint. You'll find it just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse of the coin. And the design? It's the classic John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, with Liberty above, the year below, and In God We Trust to the left. The reverse features the iconic eagle clutching arrows, symbolizing strength, with olive branches beneath for peace. What makes this year interesting is that 1981 marked one of the final years before a major transformation in U.S. coinage. In just 1 year, the U.S. Mint would introduce the first Washington quarters with the new P Mint mark on circulation coins. Although the 1981 P already carries the P, it was part of a period where production techniques and minting standards were about to change significantly. Here's where it gets exciting. Some 1981 P Washington quarters have been found with striking errors that can boost their value dramatically. Keep an eye out for off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned, clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a cutting error, die cracks or die breaks, which leave raised lines on the coin due to worn minting dies, double dies, especially on the obverse, where you might see slight doubling in the words, In God We Trust, or the date. These can be hard to spot but are highly collectible. Errors like these are rare, but they do slip through, and when they do, collectors jump at the chance to own them. So what's the 1981 P quarter worth today? A regular circulated 1981 P Washington quarter is usually worth just face value, 25 cents. But if it's in uncirculated condition, it can fetch anywhere from $1 to $5, depending on the grade. Now, if you happen to come across a mint state, MS, 65 or higher coin with sharp details and no wear, you could be looking at $10 or more, especially if it has good luster and strong eye appeal, and if you discover a rare error or variety, the value can skyrocket. Some error coins from this year have sold for over $100 at auctions, depending on the nature of the mistake and the coin's overall condition. So, the next time you're handed change at the store, or you're digging through that jar of coins in the kitchen drawer, take a moment to look closely. That 1981 P Washington quarter might be more than just pocket change, it could be a tiny treasure waiting to be discovered. Well, don't overlook the 1982 D Washington quarter dollar. This ordinary-looking coin from your pocket change could be hiding a secret that collectors are willing to pay big money for. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1982 D Washington quarter, why it's special, what errors to look for, and how much it's really worth. If you're into valuable coins, rare finds, and real money stories, you're in the right place. The 1982 D Washington quarter was minted at the Denver Mint, as shown by the small D Mint mark located on the obverse side of the coin, just next to George Washington's ponytail. Over 480 million of these quarters were produced that year, which might sound like a lot, but there's a twist in this story. 1982 was a turning point in U.S. coinage history. The U.S. Mint was facing a serious budget crunch, and as a result, no official mint sets were produced that year. This means collectors didn't get high-quality uncirculated versions directly from the mint like they usually would. As a result, finding pristine, untouched examples of the 1982 D quarter is extremely rare today. So what makes the 1982 D Washington quarter special? First, let's talk about condition. Because there were no mint sets, most 1982 D quarters were circulated. That means finding one in mint state condition, especially MS 65 or higher, is very difficult. And when you do find one, the value skyrockets. Next, let's talk about errors. One of the most talked about errors on 1982 quarters is the no mint mark variety, but that's specific to the Philadelphia Mint. However, the Denver minted 1982 D quarter also has its own collectible variations. One of the most popular is the 1982 D strong D variety. Some coins were struck with a noticeably stronger D mint mark, while others have a weaker or almost faded D. This difference matters to collectors, especially those chasing variety coins. There's also another factor: die wear and striking weakness. Due to high production and limited quality control that year, some 1982 D quarters have off-center strikes, weakly struck designs, and die cracks. While not all of these errors make a coin valuable, rare and dramatic examples can sell for a premium. So how much is a 1982 D Washington quarter worth today? If you have one in circulated condition, like most found in pocket change, it's typically worth its face value, 25 cents. However, a lightly circulated or uncirculated coin can sell for a few dollars, but here's the exciting part: in mint state condition, this coin can command some serious attention. That a graded MS-65 example of the 1982 D Washington quarter can be worth anywhere from $20 to $50 depending on the demand and appeal, and it gets better. MS-67 and higher examples have sold at auction for over $1,000, especially if they have that crisp strike and clean surfaces. The key is condition and certification from grading companies like PCGS or NGC. So why should you care about the 1982 D quarter? Because this coin is a perfect reminder that rarity doesn't always mean low mintage, it can also mean low survival and high grades. And that's exactly what happened here. No mint sets, heavy circulation, and a few exciting varieties make this a coin you absolutely need to check for in your collection. So the next time you're sorting through your pocket change or coin jar, keep an eye out for that 1982 D Washington quarter. Look for clean surfaces, a strong mint mark, and any unusual errors. You might be holding on to something far more valuable than you thought. 1983 P Washington quarter dollar coin, a coin that hides surprising value and rare secrets. Keep watching, because if you have this coin, you might be sitting on a small fortune. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just curious about what's in your pocket, this video will break down everything you need to know about one of the most interesting quarters from the 1980s, the 1983 P Washington quarter. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over time, it became a permanent part of U.S. currency, and by 1983, millions of these coins were circulating. The 1983 Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, which is indicated by the P mint mark just above the date on the obverse side of the coin. In that year, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 673 million quarters. That's a huge number, so you might think this coin is common and not worth much, but here's where things get interesting. What makes this coin stand out is not how many were made, but how few have survived in excellent condition. Back in the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint did not sell uncirculated mint sets to collectors for 2 years, 1982 and 1983. That means collectors couldn't just buy pristine examples from the mint. As a result, most 1983 quarters, including the ones from Philadelphia, were heavily circulated. They were used in everyday transactions, got scratched, dented, and worn out. Finding one today in mint state condition is incredibly difficult, and that rarity makes them highly collectible. Now let's talk about what really excites collectors. Errors. Point one of the most talked about varieties is the 1983 P Spitting Eagle quarter. This is a die clash or die crack error on the reverse side of the coin. If you look closely at the eagle's beak, there's a line that appears to come out of its mouth, making it look like the eagle is spitting. It's one of the most well-known and sought-after errors from that era. Collectors go wild for these types of minting mistakes, and if you have one with the Spitting Eagle mark in good condition, you could be looking at a valuable find. So what is a 1983 P Washington quarter actually worth? A regular circulated 1983 P quarter might fetch $1 to $3 depending on its condition. But when you get into uncirculated or high-grade examples, especially those graded MS-65 or higher, the value can jump significantly. An MS-65 1983 P quarter can be worth $40 to $60, and if it's an MS-67 or higher, the price can go well over $500. And if you have the Spitting Eagle variety, you're in for even better news. Depending on the grade and the clarity of the error, these can sell from $50 all the way to over $300 at auctions and online coin marketplaces. So the next time you're going through your spare change, don't overlook those old quarters. The 1983 P Washington quarter might look ordinary, but in the world of coin collecting, it's a hidden gem, especially if you spot that Spitting Eagle or find one in pristine condition. And remember, it's not just collectors who find value in these coins. Even casual hobbyists and curious viewers like you can uncover incredible stories in the coins we use every day. Take a minute today to check your pocket change, your coin jar, or that old drawer full of coins. You might just have a rare 1983 quarter waiting to be discovered. 1987 P Washington quarter dollar might just be one of those hidden treasures. Stick around, because today we're diving deep into a coin that could turn your spare change into serious cash. The Washington quarter is one of the most iconic coins in American history, and the 1987 P Washington quarter dollar is no exception. Minted in Philadelphia, this coin carries the P mint mark just above the R in quarter on the reverse side. Over 582 million of these coins were struck that year, so at first glance, it might seem like just another common quarter, but here's the twist: some of these coins aren't like the rest. Certain rare errors and high-grade examples can make them extremely valuable to collectors. Let's step back for a moment. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. Designed by John Flanagan, it replaced the standing Liberty quarter and quickly became a staple in American pockets and purses. The design remained virtually unchanged until the State Quarters series launched in 1999. By 1987, the quarter had been circulating for over 50 years. But coins from the late 80s were minted during a time of high production volume and, sometimes, lower quality control. That opens the door for rare and fascinating mint errors, and that's where the 1987 P becomes more interesting. While not as famous as some error coins, the 1987 P quarter does have a few rare varieties that collectors hunt for. Double die obverse, DDO. Some 1987 P quarters show noticeable doubling on the lettering or date on the obverse. These double die errors are a result of misalignment during the die creation process, and they can significantly raise a coin's value. Off-center strikes, quarters that were not properly aligned during striking, resulting in an off-center image, can sell for decent amounts depending on how much of the design is visible. Clipped planchets, coins that were struck on incomplete or clipped blanks. These are quite rare for 1987 P, but they do exist and are highly desirable. High-grade mint state coins, a regular 1987 P quarter in circulated condition might be worth just face value. But a pristine example graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC can fetch upwards of $100 to $500, depending on the market. So, is the 1987 P Washington quarter rare? In everyday pocket change, not particularly. But finding one in near perfect condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. Out of the hundreds of millions minted, only a handful survive in flawless mint state today. Coin grading services have certified just a limited number of MS67 plus examples. And when collectors compete for these high-grade coins, prices can soar. Recent auction records show that a 1987 P quarter graded MS67 sold for around $480. That's 1,920 times its face value. Even MS66 coins can be worth $40 to $60, which is still an amazing return for a quarter. So, the next time you're sorting through your pocket change or coin jar, keep an eye out for the 1987 P Washington quarter dollar. Check the date, look for that P mint mark, and inspect for any doubling or unusual features. Who knows, you might just have a hidden gem waiting to be discovered. Washington quarter from 1995 with a tiny D on it that could be hiding serious value. The 1995 D Washington quarter dollar coin, a coin that might just be sitting in your pocket, your jar, or your old change drawer. And trust me, this isn't your everyday pocket change. The Washington quarter has been a staple in American currency since 1932. It was originally struck to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first President of the United States. Over the decades, this iconic coin has gone through a few design tweaks, but it's remained a collector favorite. The quarter we're focusing on today is the 1995 D Washington quarter, which was minted in Denver, as shown by the small D mint mark located just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse side. In 1995, the Denver Mint produced over 1.1 billion of these quarters. So at first glance, you might think it's not rare at all. But here's where things get interesting. Even with over a billion struck, not all 1995 D quarters are created equal. Some collectors have discovered error coins from this year that command serious premiums in the market. One of the most well-known errors involves off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned. These can range from minor shifts to dramatic errors where part of the design is missing. Depending on the severity, these can sell for $50 to $300 or more. Another valuable error is the double die, where the inscriptions appear to be slightly duplicated. Although rare for this date, any doubling should always be checked, especially on the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." Also, keep an eye out for planchet errors, such as coins struck on the wrong metal or with incomplete metal bonding. These are extremely scarce, but if you find one, the value can skyrocket into the hundreds or even thousands. So what makes a regular 1995 D quarter valuable today? Condition plays a huge role. A circulated 1995 D quarter is generally only worth its face value, 25 cents. However, uncirculated coins or those graded MS-65 and above can fetch between $5 to $25, depending on the demand and condition. If you happen to find a mint state coin graded MS-67 or higher, now you're talking serious money. Some have sold for $150 to over $500 at auction. Collectors are always searching for full strike details, especially in the hair and eagle feathers on the reverse. The cleaner and sharper the strike, the more valuable your coin becomes. And remember, just because the coin looks new doesn't mean it's valuable. It needs to be in pristine, untouched condition to fetch those higher prices. The 1995 D quarter may not have been part of a special commemorative issue, but it represents the last era before the launch of the state quarters program in 1999. This makes it one of the final, classic, Washington quarters, a piece of American currency history before everything changed. For many collectors, completing a set of Washington quarters from 1932 to 1998 is a major goal, and having a high-grade 1995 D is essential to that collection. So, the next time you get a handful of change, don't overlook the humble quarter. Take a moment. Flip it over. Look for that 1995 date and the little D mint mark. Check the condition. Look for errors. You never know, you could be holding a small fortune in your hand. And if you found this video helpful or exciting, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more rare coin discoveries. Turn on notifications so you never miss a chance to learn about valuable coins that might just be hiding in your home. And most importantly, check your pocket change. You might be richer than you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.